Number one is set for a slow and quick S and Q. Number two is set for picture profile. And then you have a button down below here, which is the auto and manual focus. Again, we're not trying to shoot an auto at all, so you always want to have this in manual down lower. And this is the other button that will really help you. It's a push to auto focus button. So again, once you set up your iris by pushing the push to auto and get it in the ballpark, if you hit this and hold it down, it will auto focus your camera. And then when you let go, it's back into manual again. So those are great buttons to get to know. And then up above here, if we tilt up a little bit, you will see there is a record start and stop button here. And there is a hold switch button and a full auto button. Now these buttons are buttons that you really want to be careful of. For a couple different reasons. Number one, they're very helpful. The hold button here is meant if you're recording like a long ceremony or something that's just a talking head and none of your settings are going to change and you don't want to accidentally hit any of the buttons on the camera and change it, you would flip this to hold and it would lock everything except for the record start and stop. So you can't change any of the settings. Now, if you accidentally hit that button and you're trying to change things in your camera and nothing is changing, more than likely you flip this over to hold. And so you just want to go back through and make sure. And it gives you a little warning yellow that tells you it's in hold. So it's a visual sign that it's in hold. Now the other button next to it is the full auto. And what that does, if you push that button, it puts everything into auto. Auto iris, auto ISO, auto focus, everything gets pushed to auto. And so if you ever get in a crisis and you have to record very fast and you need everything to work properly, just hit that button and everything will come up and start recording. Now, you'll want to take it out of full auto as soon as possible because you won't have any control over everything. And all your settings in your viewfinder will have little A's next to them showing you that it's in auto. So that's a thing that you want to be aware of. Then if we go down here, you see there's a ISO gain, white balance, shutter switch, and then there's also a low, medium, and high. I got a very narrow depth of field on this camera, you can see. So this is for your ISO and gain. We're going to set it up in the menu structure so that it's ISO. So when you press this in your viewfinder, it will highlight the ISO number in your viewfinder, and then you can use the scroll wheel to change it. Actually, it's the scroll wheel over here. We're going to talk about here in a second to change it. Same thing with white balance. When you push this white balance button, it will highlight white balance in your viewfinder, and you'll be able to scroll through and change it. And then the same thing with shutter. These will take these in and out of auto and manual iris. So that's how you get them in and out of auto manual. This is a gain switch. We're going to go in and set up a low, medium, and high setting for your ISO and gain in your menu settings. High is going to be 3200 ISO, medium is going to be 1600, and low is going to be 1000 ISO. Right next to this is your white balance selector switch, and this is for preset or A and B. And we're going to set preset up so that when you have it in preset and you hit the button and it highlights in the viewfinder, you can actually use the scroll button over to the right to scroll up and down a couple hundred degrees of Kelvin degrees at a time. So you can manually set your white balance. Now, the A and B switches on these are memory white balance set buttons. So you would use these if you were manually setting the white balance with a white card or something white in the scene. So flip it to A, and then you would flip this around, and right here you see a white balance button set, white balance set button on the front. Shooting a white card, 80% of the frame, you would hit that button and it would automatically set a memory setting for the A setting on this. Or we have it in B right now. Then you flip it down to A, you can do the same thing. So what I normally do when I white balance is I set an A and B memory, a little bit different light. I'm trying to get a 200 or 300 degrees difference in the Kelvin degrees, just to give you an example. And then I'll go in and I'll actually preset it in and dial it in and kind of see what the preset looks like for the color temperature I think it should be. And then I'll also flip back and forth between A and B and choose the best looking color temperature visually in my viewfinder. So if you go over a little bit, what you're going to see here is a couple different buttons. And so we've talked, what you see here is a thumbnail. And if you push the thumbnail button, you will see that you'll go into a playback mode on your viewfinder, and then you can scroll up and down and select the clips that you want to play, and then push in on the select set button, and it will take you to that clip. So to get out of it, you push thumbnail again, it takes you out. Above that is the display button. And this display button controls the information that you see in your viewfinder. It's a 3-button switch. So the first button displays all the information top and bottom with a recording and standby light. The second button, you push it again, and it takes off the top half of the information and leaves the bottom half of the information in your viewfinder, and you press it again, and everything disappears except for the standby record light. Next to this is a select set wheel, and so this is a way to scroll through your menu settings. So if you were going to hit your menu settings, and then you can scroll up and down on the menu settings, and if you hit select by pushing it in, it takes you into the sub menu, and then you can go up and down on that as well. Next to that is a slot select, and this will, if you have 2 cards that you're recording to, 2 SD cards in your record slots on this camera, you can actually switch them back and forth and tell the camera which one to record from. Above that is the audio controls, and you flip this down, and so you have channel 1 and channel 2, and these are the volume controls you can go up and down on, and you can have it in manual or auto. You're going to want to put it in manual, and then we'll show you how to set up the audio levels using the status button number 1, page number 1, and setting it so that the audio is peaking between -20 and -10 dB on the meters on that. Right next to that is the on and off switch. So this is how you turn, it's actually called standby on. I don't know why it's called standby instead of off. If you flip it over this way, the camera turns off. Flip it over this way, the camera turns on. Right above that, I can't really see it right here, but this is a strap connector. So if you're going to put the strap that comes with your camera on, it connects, one side of it connects here. Now on the back of this is also the door for opening up. You just flip this door open, and this is where your memory cards go in. So you've got your memory card slots, and you also have your A and B slots, and you also have a micro USB slot there that is a multi-slot. Now you just push them in, and there's also another little SD card slot in here that you can see. This is the SD card I have in here, and it goes in so that the shiny side, the connector side, faces away from the camera. So I'm just going to put it in and push it. You can see the light come on saying that it's processing it. So you have those 2 slots here. This is the infrared connector if you're using your remote control and you're looking at controlling it, point it at this point right here on the camera. And then down below here, if you look, you can see a couple different settings here. Plugs, that is. And the first one is the power plug. Right here, I just flipped this out, and I actually have my AC power connector in there right now. And then right above that is your headphone jack, and this is where you plug your headphones in, right there. So let's take a look at the back of the camera again. You can see on this particular camera that I actually have put on the extended viewfinder, extended lens hood. And that's, if you're shooting outdoors at all, it just slips on over the old one. You just keep the old one on and just flips in and then pops back up again. And so put this on and use it because you're going to be shooting outdoors. Now you can see, if you can see the camera, you can see, let me come up, I'll show you something that's really kind of interesting. So I got this lens hood on. You can see there's a window there, and there's another little window next to that. So you have an option to set this on in your menu, which we're going to do. So you have the auto electronic viewfinder sensor come on and off. Now if I put my hand over there, you see the LCD screen go off. Take my hand away, it comes back on. Same thing if I cover this, this comes on. So it's an auto sensor. So it's great just to save power, But if you're moving around a lot, you may get annoyed with this. You can change it in the menu settings so that if you're accidentally shooting and your hand goes in front of it while you're looking at the LCD, you can see it takes a couple seconds for it to come back up. So it's just could be a pain in the butt to go change. So you can always set that to manual. And so this viewfinder scrolls up and down like this. Be careful with it, it's pretty fragile. And then on the side of the viewfinder over here, a lot of people don't know this, there's a little diopter here. And this is this little diopter. Let me zoom in and show you that. It's great operating this camera backwards and left-handed. So here's a little diopter on the viewfinder. Let me click this on a little bit better. It's right here. And so you just scroll this back and forth. And what you do is you look at menu settings in your viewfinder when you have your viewfinder up in the menu settings. I'm not going to be able to see it in here, obviously. But if I put this on here and cover it, you can see my viewfinder comes up. And so basically what you do is you set it so that you can see the numbers in the viewfinder, and then you use that diopter to dial in what your eyesight is. So if you don't want to shoot with glasses on, you can do that here. And so if you look at this again, and I pop this open, this is the battery release button here. Let me get the handle out of the way. So the battery release button will actually release the battery. You're using these BU, let's see if I have one handy real fast. Of course, I don't have it on the charger. But the battery goes right in here and slides down, and then to release it, you push this button in and flip the battery up, and it comes right out. Over on the right-hand side here, let me go in a little bit more so you can see this a little better. You have a couple different connectors here. This first one is the SDI connector. It's called the SDI B&C, British Naval Connector. It takes a specific type of B&C cable to go out to, but it will go to external monitors that accept SDI signal. And then right next to that, below that, is your HDMI cable selector switch. And there's also right next to that, this is the other mounting point for your handle. If you put the strap on there, that's where it goes. And then below that is your 100 megabit Ethernet connector that you can hardwire this camera into on this. And then at the very bottom down here, you see the other audio connector. So this is the other audio channel 1. So you can actually take your camera handle off the camera, and channel 2 audio goes away, but you still maintain channel 1.